Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to This Week from Rockdale. If you were on the show a few minutes ago, which I see the audience is already building back to this new show, thank you for joining me on the show that we're having at 9 o'clock with myself, Tene Davis, and Justin Kenney. So we're going to chop it up a little bit, talk a little bit about education, and see what we can talk about, and let you guys have a little bit of insight on what we would like to do if we're elected, and some of our thoughts on education in Rockdale County, and may even talk about some of our insight and experience in running a campaign here in Rockdale County the last little bit. It's been interesting. So let me go ahead and start bringing my special guest in. So I will click on Miss Tene Davis first. Welcome to the show, Tene, and great to have you here tonight.
Thank you, Larry. Great to be here.
Me
Great to
too.
be
So
here.
let's go ahead and let our outcast in from the green room right now. So Justin Kenney, welcome to the show. The outcast. We're bringing you into the room.
Good evening, everybody.
Thank you, guys. So we're glad to have the audience starting to join us today, and we've got a lot of people starting to click in. So guys, this has been quite a unique and interesting election cycle. I've been involved in quite a few here in Rockdale County, and I'll tell you, this may be the most exciting election cycle that I've been involved in to date. Just with a lot of the shenanigans that have gone on, just with to me, one of the most interesting things is we started having forums and midway through it, the incumbents quit coming to the forums that are running in our race, right? So it was, and Justin, I don't count you as an incumbent because you like to say, I've not earned your vote and I've not been elected yet. And we're going to stick to that story until the end, right?
That's right. Until Tuesday, when I'm
Until two,
elected to
when you're
more to
elected.
post three.
That's right. So it has been interesting, right? So that is very, very interesting. So it's just something I'm just puzzled at, but I'll accept that as what it is. So what I want to do, like I do all the shows, today I'll start with you. Why don't you go ahead and let everybody know who you are and why you decided to get in this race?
Thank you, Larry. And hello, Rockdale. Hello, dedicated citizens of Rockdale. I'm Tene Davis. I'm in this race for two reasons. Well, maybe more than two. I'm an educator. And also, I have two young children. I always knew I wanted to be an educator. And I knew I needed to get into policy after teaching, even before I got into teaching. The plan was to get into policy. How? I didn't know. I didn't know that this was going to be my path until I came to Rockdale, was definitely enjoying the school system with my now 8-year old, then she was 4 and 5-year old, participating in Rockdale County Public Schools and really, really enjoying it. Until there was a decision made by our superintendent, by our board, just didn't agree with. I figured I've been in the education system for a long time. Why not just go and have discussions, have conversations, and hopefully we can just understand where we're all coming from. That did not happen. That did not happen. I think I got one of the worst receptions I've ever gotten from being in education ever. So I knew then that I needed to become more intimately involved in the school system. As I was trying to galvanize the parents, as I was trying to galvanize the parents to just understand that they have a voice and the things that they were not seeing in the school system or liking in the school system, that we can actually say something. A lot of the parents, a lot of the administrators, a lot of the teachers were just saying, why don't you just run today? And I said, I'd rather just work at the community grassroots level. But then I realized that I can still work at the community grassroots level, but also bring that to the district level and actually do policy. And that's exactly what I've always wanted to do, was to implement educational policy, because at the policy level is where you see the substantial, long-lasting change within the educational system. So I've worked in education for 20 years, decided to have children. My husband and I decided to have children, put our children in the educational system. And for me, because I worked so hard for everyone else's children, I can't neglect my own children. So I have to make sure that if they're going to be in this educational system, it's got to be excellent. It's not going to be perfect. It's got to be excellent. So those are the reasons I'm here. I'm an educator, love education, always wanted to get into policy, educational policy, and I have two small children. So it's got to be excellent.
I get that. So Justin's path is a little different. So Justin, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody who you are and tell them your path, because it's an interesting path to where you've got to now and you're running for election.
So I'm Justin Kenney. I am the current occupant of the Post 3 Board of Education seat. I was not elected. I was appointed to replace Wells Barksdale when he resigned. So I have not earned a single vote to occupy this position, but I am asking for your vote on May 21st. So how I got here and why I decided to, to seek this position. So I'm a product of Rockdale County. I was born and raised in Rockdale County. I graduated from Rockdale County High School in 2002, and I graduated during the golden era of Rockdale County public schools. My parents moved to Rockdale County because they knew that when they started a family that their children would get a quality education in Rockdale County. I graduated, I went to college, went to law school, and I came back home to work. And I was I was excited to start a family in Rockdale County because I wanted my children to get the same quality education that I received. But what I came home to was not the same school system that I graduated from. My wife, she has been she's been a teacher in Rockdale County for a decade now, and I come home every day and hear her talk about the plight of being a teacher in Rockdale County, and just hearing about the administrative shuffle and the struggles that they deal with, the lack of support that they deal with. That when this position came open, I said, you know what? I have a voice. Uh, I I need I need to be in this position. I put my name into the hat, uh, and Judge Mumford decided to appoint me to this position, and I've been excited about being in this position ever since.
Yeah, and that was a different path, but you're there,
I'm
and
there.
and now you're running for that seat that you're appointed to,
Yes, sir.
and Justin and I agree we got to keep Justin in that seat, because we've got to keep Justin in that seat, and we need some other change seats to flip in order to do things. So I gave you guys the opportunity to say who you are and why you're running, and I get to do the same. So guys, I'm Larry Cox. I am running for Post 1. I decided to run last year really early. It was in September that I qualified. Way back when Superintendent Oates was hired, back in 2018, I believe it was, or 19. Alex McDonald and I both decided, we were doing This Week in Rockdale at the time. We were going to give him 2 to 3 years to see how he did before we made judgment. After 2.5 years, I couldn't go the 3 years. I made judgment. And I began a critical path as to opposing Terry Oates' leadership as school superintendent, because I saw a drastic decline in just his short tenure in education at that time. I saw from just on the outside the employees being dissatisfied, all the shuffling around, inconsistencies in administration. And me coming from the business world, when you have that kind of inconsistency in the business world, you do not have good results. So there's no way that an entity like the educational system, with that much turmoil and turnover, were you going to have a successful system. So it bothered me. So last year, I decided, especially when one of my daughters decided to move out of Rockdale County and take 3 of my grandchildren out of Rockdale County, it really bothered me. And it also bothered me because I know that the 2 children that were in the Rockdale County school system had a terrible time while they were in the Rockdale County school system because they weren't supported. in the Rockdale County school system. And to me, I have a voice. I'm a person who believes that I can initiate change by using that voice. And I decided it was time for somebody to run for office to let the school board know that they're in charge, that they set the policy, they approve the budget, and they approve the curriculum. It's not that they rubber stamp any of those. It's that they need to be involved in the beginning of establishing and setting all of those. And once they're established, then it is up to the superintendent to run the day-to-day operations with his administrative staff. And the school board steps back and lets that person do that job. But the school board still needs to have, they need to observe and see what's going on. Because I kept hearing school board members say, well, we can't have town halls. We're not allowed to visit the school. I had done research and I knew all of that was bogus and it was not reality. And someone needed to run for office to expose those misinformation. And that's what I've done. And that's what I'm most proud about with my campaign. I think I'm going to be successful in winning this seat. And as so, I will be a voice and an advocate for the children and the students of this county. And I will also be an advocate for my fellow board members so that they do not get bullied by a superintendent. That's who I am. That's why I'm running. And if you want to say in Rockdale County and you want your next board member to represent you and not the superintendent, then I am the vote for Post 1 Board of Education member. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, Justin.
I like it.
So, guys, this has been an interesting campaign. Tonight, your first time running for office. Justin's stuck his toe in the water a couple times. So what have you found to be the most interesting thing about running for public office?
I was very hesitant because I'm the type of person who I live my life based upon, purpose. And so I knew I would have to put myself out there. I don't mind putting myself out there for public fodder, but that's not exactly what I wanted to do, because sometimes when you live your life based on purpose, it doesn't always please everyone. And people don't always react to that. So I was a little concerned about that. But that really hasn't been an issue, honestly. I've gotten a lot of great feedback. People have been genuinely nice. I guess if they don't agree with me, they kind of just kept it to themselves. But people have just been, and this is what I've experienced from Rockdale citizens since we moved here in December 2019. People told me, just be ready. Politics is horrible. People are going to be mean. People are going to turn on you. I just really haven't experienced a lot of that, honestly. Now, mind you, I did experience some stuff that, are we going to speak freely?
We are going to speak freely. I'm actually going to bring it up. You can bring it up. Okay. Because I'm going to bring it up because I actually filed an official complaint with the the State Board of Elections. So it's a reality. It's something that's going to come up legally. So we might as well talk about it and get it out there because it's an official complaint that has been filed with the State Election Board.
Okay, so like I said, from the Rockdale citizens, I've received it's been a great time. It's a lot of great positive feedback. I guess, we have to bring it up. So I was the first one to receive a cease and desist from our superintendent. I received it the day after I qualified. Now, mind you, as Larry said, this is my first time ever running for office. And so I can be a little dramatic. I'll just be honest. So when the superintendent sent me that letter and he put in that it made it seem like I had violated board policy, I was so distraught for like a day. because I really thought Brad Raffensperger was going to call me and shut down my campaign. You know, I went that far. But of course, I consulted my lawyer, and we crafted a response. And in my response, now my lawyer didn't tell me to put this in there, but I did, because even though I'm not a lawyer like Justin is, I love policy, I love the law. So when I got the email, I knew that what he was doing bordered on election interference. So I put that in my email to him, in my response to him. I said, at best, you're allowing politics to drive policy. At worst, you're in violation of the Voting Rights Act, election interference through coercion, what does that say, intimidation and threats. So I told him this back in the beginning of March when he sent the cease and desist to me. So that was daunting. That was the start of my campaign. And so to see the head of the educational system attack me, I was taken aback, but only for a day. Only for a day. So I sent the letter. He responded, and everyone can see in the open records how he responded to that. I sent my response. He responded, and I was done. I was done with it. Dr. Oates has not been an issue, a factor in how I run my campaign. Because when I'm done with something, I'm done. And so, but that was a little daunting and jarring to happen at the beginning of my campaign. But since then, I've met great people like Larry and his audience, and just great people throughout. I already knew Justin from the neighborhood. So Justin and I have been able to get closer and talk more. But just great people on the campaign trail. So I will say I'm happy that our campaign, our election, the Board of Education, our race we've been respectful to one another. We haven't had a lot of drama and turmoil like you see in the other races. And like when we see each other, we genuinely speak to each other. How are you doing? And I've really appreciated that. I really have. Yeah.
Justin, what same question with you, as far you've dipped your toes in this a couple of times. So what have you found this to be a little different than the last time you ran for office? And then also address your cease and desist also while you got the floor.
So this is my third time running for office. The first time that I ran was the start of COVID. The second time I ran was in the midst of COVID. So this is the first time I've actually, aside from your show, have been able to participate in forums and get a message out, and be able to knock on a door and not be turned away because somebody thinks that I'm about to infect them with a plague. But the cease and desist letter and how this campaign has been different is, my message seems to resonate with the people when it didn't resonate before. There's a movement in the community that they are disappointed in the current status of Rockdale County Public Schools, and there's a movement to address that issue and to improve it. So the cease and desist letter. So I got one. Tene was the first one to get it. I was I believe the third candidate to get a cease and desist letter. So my cease and desist letter was from the superintendent because he didn't like the fact that I was quoting statistics that the superintendent and his administration gave to me as a member of the Board of Education. And I was befuddled. I was flummoxed by the whole thing. I was told that I need to stop talking about our students not succeeding, not doing as well on the milestones as they should, and that I was disparaging Rockdale County Public Schools. I am a firm believer that we cannot fix a problem unless we address the fact that there is a problem. And to cherry pick numbers and to hide beyond the fact that there's a problem in Rockdale County Public Schools is is bizarre. I don't understand why he felt the need to send me a cease and desist letter saying that I can't talk about a problem. I'm a member of the governance team, and I want to address the problem, and they want to hide behind, or they want to hide the fact that there is a problem, and it makes no sense to me.
Well, you know, Justin, and this is the thing about it. You receive those documents either in small group or it really is irrelevant because you received it. It was an official document from the board, right?
Yes.
So, and when you go to domain 5, which covers board meetings or whatever, it says, and it's rule 7. A local board of education shall not adopt or follow any code of ethics which prevents the members of such board from discussing freely the policies and actions of such board outside a board meeting. And then this particular section is actually followed by Georgia state law, OCGA 50-18-72. It's the only section that is specifically followed by a state code. So I found it interesting, you know, that you specifically received this and you received this from information that was actually discussed at a board meeting at one point or another, right? So it's in clear violation of the ethics policy, and it's in clear violation of state law. But most disturbing to me, it's a clear violation of the First Amendment because political speech and political campaigns have been the most protected type of free speech that there has been that the Supreme Court upholds. And so I actually talked to a couple other attorneys regarding this, right? And one of them is someone I know and worked with before, and he's actually specializes in election law. And he advised me there's no doubt it's definitely election interference, and that all 3 cease and desist letters that were sent were actually violations of the First Amendment and would be considered election interference. So as to what the election board will do, not certain, right? But something like that does not need to go unchecked because it's very important when people do violate that those things are reported to the election board so that people are told, no, you can't do that anymore. That's what needs to happen. So I felt strongly to get open records request and actually make that complaint to the state election board, which I did. I found my campaign's a little more interesting. I have not been directly sent any emails or letters or whatever, but a lot of the things that I was saying was initially challenged. Like where you can't have town halls, can't have public meetings, you can't visit the school. And Justin, Tene, I think you all have seen as we've had forums, I was able to actually to debunk every one of those as being not true. I've actually also challenged the fact they say, well, the board has no power or authority because none of them have came back and challenged anything that I've said about what the board's authority should be versus what it's allowed to be by this superintendent. And that's my problem. My problem is I believe the superintendent needs to run the day-to-day operation, but the board needs to have a stronger role in establishing policy, establishing curriculum, and establishing the budget. And I think the reason that the budget has ballooned and gotten out of control is because we've not had direct board involvement. You're just given a budget. Here, you got 3 minutes, pass it. And that's literally what I see with you guys getting thrown at you, Justin. Mm-hmm. And I would actually like Justin to discuss that a little bit about what the budget process has been, because he's been involved in 2 now. And budget, Justin, what has the budget been process been like for you as a board member?
So the first budget process, when I was appointed, it was right in the midst of the budget season. So I was handed a budget book. This is the budget. Look at it. If you have any complaints, let us know. And then there's a vote 2 weeks later. this budget process, I'm more familiar with that process. But again, you're handed a budget book. These are the this is the revenue, these are the expenditures, and this is how much we're going into the reserve fund, and that's it. We are not involved in the process of actually formulating that budget. We are handed a book and told it's either this, vote for it or don't. Um, we don't sit in on any sort of day-to-day meetings. There are finance committee meetings, but all they tell us is this is a revenue source. This is what the state's going to give us. This is the expected revenue from property taxes and other local sources of revenue, and this is what we intend to spend, and that's it. Uh, we don't have any real hands-on formulation of that budget, and to me, that's disconcerting. And
And it's not actually what the rules are. It's not really, right? It's not. If you're passing something, then you have to have say in something you're passing. And Justin, and I've pledged this to the voters, right? If I'm elected, there's going to be some interesting discussion on that board about what I think the board should do moving forward,
there
right?
should be, and
Well, and this is the thing about it. And I think you and I may have had a conversation at some point, and I told you this. I said, Justin, the superintendent may not like it, but his recourse is to sue the board. And I don't think we're going to let him use our attorney to sue ourselves.
indeed.
So, and we're not going to vote to approve funds for him to sue us. So what I've observed in government, my tenure of 30 years of observing government, is that when a civil servant is what the superintendent is, and we've been told by even entities in county government, well, if you don't like what we're doing, you're going to have to sue us to make us do something different. I think it's time for this board to grow a backbone and do its job.
Mhm.
And that's what I intend. I intend to actually do. I intend to actually, when elected, represent my constituents. And then you get this feedback, well, you got to put the kids first. The kids are first if we put the community first.
Mhm.
The community and the children are the same thing. If we've got a healthy community, we've got a healthy school system, and we've got a healthy student. But if we don't have a healthy community, we're not going to have a healthy school system. And that's one of our big problems in Rockdale County is, Justin, you're on the board now. Tene, you've been involved in the PTO.
And the local school council. And
Right.
when Justin was telling me about this process, about how they don't have a lot of input, I said we have more input on the local school council. Like I was on the local school council at Carver Early College High School in Atlanta for some years. We saw the whole budget of that school line by line, and we went line by line. So that was my expectation. That's my expectation for the board. But as Justin is telling me this, I'm flabbergasted, because if we can do that at the local level, at the local school level, it should definitely be done at the board level. So
Yeah. Well, and my point is, you've got Justin on the board. Justin, there has not been anybody as vocal as you before you got elected to this board. In my recollection, you've asked questions nobody's asked. You've made statements nobody's made before. You have began the process of the showing a backbone, right? And I think, and it comes down to, because there were two other members who I think have backbone, and that's Janie Jones and Sandra Jackson Lett. And then they got you on the board, and there's that other strong person, right? But it's still a 4-3 against, right?
Right.
That's why there needs to be another couple of strong people elected to this board who realize that the authority and the power actually belong to the board when it comes to policy. The implementing policy, the day-to-day, is the administration and
Right.
the superintendent.
Right.
But it's the board's responsibility to establish and set this policy.
Right.
Then it's the board's responsibility to make sure this policy is being adhered to and followed.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you do that? You do that by going into the school and observing and seeing what's going on with your own eyes. So no, I'm not blaming Justin and the other two members who I believe fight courageously
Mm-hmm.
for this community. But what I think is we have some people who are out of touch with the community, and by changing the guard, as one would say, the community wants people who are actually want to listen to them. That's what I see in this campaign. As I've been campaigning, talking to people, the community wants people who will listen to them.
I don't know if it may be out of touch, definitely, but it's also some of our board members are not operating within their sphere of excellence or knowledge. And I've had a board member say to me, not during this election, this was a year ago now, it's just simple old PTO president. Literally, these were her words. We don't know what we're doing, so we just have to listen to Dr. Oates. I almost dropped the phone when she said that. I said, what? I said, in my mind, I was like, well, why are you there? So I don't know if it's out of, and I told another board member, I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Again, I was just simple old PTO president a year ago. I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you. I said, but I don't think you understand the power that you have. I said, you hire and you fire. And her response was something to the effect of, well, we don't want to be seen as infighting so that we lose our accreditation like Clayton. So I don't think they really understand the position, and they're completely operating outside of their will of knowledge.
Sandra Jackson Lett wants to make something perfectly clear. She was not that person that made that statement tonight.
No. No.
I can guarantee you, Sandra Jackson.
I want to clarify that I 100% agree that I do not believe Sandra Jackson Lett would have made that statement either, right? So Justin, you and I have talked about this, right? About the role of the board and deferring expertise to who the expertise needs to be deferred to. And you and I have talked about upon setting policies and procedures that we felt we needed to get the guidance of experts. And but we feel that the board needs to get that guidance and work with the superintendent. And from what I've been able to observe from the outside and have conversations with people on the inside, would you agree that cooperation level lacks?
So I don't know if there's a lack of cooperation. Honestly, with the board,
I'm talking about with the board and the superintendent and the administrative individual. Well, I mean, there definitely is a lack, Justin, with the budget. You can't say that there's any cooperation or coordination.
No, there's not there. But in terms of a governance team with the superintendent, everybody that's currently on the board wants what's best for Rockdale County Public Schools and wants what's best for the students of Rockdale County. There's just a fundamental disagreement on how we're going to get there. And with 7 individual minds on a board, that's going to happen. My thing is we are stagnant right now. Our students are not performing well. There's a lack of morale in the public school system. Teachers are feeling unsupported, and this is a trickle down effect from the top. And you talk to teachers, you talk to administrators, and they're having difficulties with county office. They can't get anybody participating in a meeting. They can't get any support from county office, and students are misbehaving. There's just there's a fundamental divide in the board in terms of how we're going to fix it, and
You're
And
right. Because there's a divide and there needs to be, and it doesn't seem like there wants to be any cooperation between what you would call the faction, right? It's like it's the superintendent gets in people's ears and they're not going to budge.
like, there are four that consistently vote with the recommendations of the superintendent, and there are three of us that want to push back.
And it's very apparent from the people who were not there as we watched this unfold, right? And you can stay quiet on this if you want to, Justin, but it's very apparent from us that watch from the outside as we see this dog and pony show, right? And that's just truly how we see it. And we see it as manipulation of the superintendent. Because I've clearly said polished and charismatic, but not the right person for the job. Okay. And I firmly believe that because I've said this, leadership and performance go together. Poor leadership reflects in the what we're seeing in the classroom. And that's just reality. Because I use the analogy of the sports team, and when there's poor performance on the field, it's because we have poor performance at the top, and you have to replace that coach to alter that performance on the field. And I think for us to change the performance in the classroom, we're going to have to change the leadership at the top. And I have been very critical of that, right? And a lot of people were telling me initially, you're going to get criticized. You're not going to do, but I'll tell you what, I think that my honesty in this has actually what the citizens have appreciated the most in this campaign, because that apparently they have felt this pain from behind the scenes all along, and they want change. And I think that's what this election is about. It's a change election.
I mean, parents are on board with it. Teachers are on board with it. That we need a change at the top. And I was one of three that voted not to renew the superintendent's contract, not to give him a raise. That we need a change at the helm in order to redirect where Rockdale County Public Schools is heading.
I was at one thing I always want to do is stay connected to parents, teachers, students, administrators. And so I was at my 4-year-old's T-ball practice. Well, I was attempting to go to the 4-year-old's T-ball practice. As I got out of my car, one teacher from a middle school came directly to me. And then another former teacher came directly to me. Then a parent joined, and I literally stood in the driveway. I completely missed T-ball practice for the most part, because they were just so passionate and so upset about the state of Rockdale, our CPS. And they look to the administration. They look to not only the administration of the school, but also at the district level. And they say this is where they lay the blame. They're very honest. I spoke to a teacher today. She put in her resignation last week. She's not even going to go to the end of the school year. She says it's too much. She is a veteran teacher, and she said what she has seen is just too much. And again, she lays it at the feet of the administration at her school, all the way up to the district level. That's what they're telling. That's what they're saying. So, yeah, we're all on point with there needs to be some change.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And sometimes it's hard to do that, right? I mean, if it's because people don't, we our nature, we don't like change, right? But sometimes change is necessary. And in these situations, these changes mean people lose jobs. And that's where people get squirrely, right? People get squirrely when you realize you're going to replace people. And they get, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can. Well, if you really want to put this thing that they say, put the kids first, then putting the kids first means telling some people we've appreciated your service, but it's no longer needed. And we wish you well, but it's going to be somewhere else. And that's a hard thing to do, but sometimes it's a necessary thing to do. And those are hard decisions. And those are decisions that the voters of Rockdale County, that's the kind of decisions they want their elected officials to be able to make on their behalf. It really is.
Let me just be very clear with everyone. I started off by saying I'm here for purpose. So for me, those decisions aren't hard. Of course, you don't want to see anyone suffering, but I'm not here for adults. I'm here for children. And if adults don't want to do what adults need to do so that children can succeed, well, then adults need to find a different path. That just means this is not your path. I remember I had the interview for my graduate research assistants to help me run the early college program at Georgia State. And they always said, Dr. Davis, you give one of the toughest interviews because I need for people to know up front what we're about, up front. And if you know the mission, purpose, and vision of educational excellence for these children and you want to hop on board, come on. But if that's not what you're about, I have no problem with saying, go find what you're about because it can't be this. So I don't have a problem with that.
I think Jill Odom just made a great statement, right? She said, but these changes will allow also good people to stay or return to Rockdale County Public Schools and do what is best for improvement. So that's the positive. Would you agree with that, Justin?
Absolutely. Look, it's not, we're not trying to just get rid of people to get rid of people. We want to get rid of duplicity and jobs that two people are doing the same job. That's what we need to get rid of. We need to get rid of individuals that will not come to work. They're working from home and then they're on Teams meetings and their cameras are turned off and they're not participating in the actual meeting. What are you there for? Like, you're not leading. You're not doing anything to progress the success of Rockdale County Public Schools. Why are we paying you $150,000 not to participate in instruction at the tier at any sort of level? You are checked out. You're living out of state, or you're not coming into county office and working from the office. We need to open up those funds. We need to put that money back into the schools and get it away from Pine Street, not Pine Street Elementary School, Pine Street, the county office. We need to get that money back into the schools. I am tired of my wife having to go to Target and buy supplies for her classroom, and then we turn around and vote to give the superintendent a $60,000 SUV because he can't, apparently, from his $250,000 salary, he can't pay for his own car. This is nonsense. We have got to get the money back at the school level and get it out of county office.
I think during the forums, I think that one of the things that resonated, and Justin, I believe you started it, was
probably
build it. Probably, yeah. it was build it from the bottom or build it from the schoolhouse up, right? And that's the way I talk about zero-based budgeting all the time, right? And that's what zero-based budgeting does. And that's why what we need to look at zero-based budgeting, and we need to start at the school, build our budget from the school, and end up at the central office in Pine Street. That's what we need to do. And we make sure the schools are taken care of, then build our budget out from there. And we'll see what we cut the fat after, because the fat will be after. That's what we do. Cut the fat after. And I think we'll find out that if we do it that way, and we can start from zero every year. Justin, I think you and I were talking about some budgets, and I had seen some budgets in my past, and you had seen some budgets where you just noticed the same thing is carried over year after year after year. And it's the same dollar amount, and it's the same exact line item. When something like that's carried, it's just being carried, and then a percent added to the end of the budget. So that's what we've got to stop. We've got to stop. Well, it was 222 this year. We'll just add 10%, 15%, and that'll be the budget next year. That's not the way to run a budget. And that's what I think we've, as a board, when the new board takes office in January, we will probably not be popular because we're going to probably cease and desist the budget process.
To your point, Larry, there is one line. It's been driving me crazy. There's one line item in human resources that there is $60,000 a year that is carried over for 3 years for software integration. Like, why are we spending 60 grand a year, every year for software integration and data integration? If we switched over to new software, fine, and we incorporate the data set into the new software. Why is this taking 3 years and we're spending 60 grand per year? Cut like Give us, like you said, Larry, start at zero-based budgeting, get what is actually necessary and stop putting in what was last year and tacking on 10%.
And we need to be out of the vehicle business. Okay.
Yeah,
I made a statement at one of the town halls, and independently, my statement was backed up to you. Correct, Justin?
it
And
was.
I'm going to tell people what my statement was. I made a statement that someone I knows someone that worked at the bus barn, and they were complaining they were getting behind on bus maintenance because they were having to do so much maintenance on these vehicles that the county was buying for support personnel. Justin, now tell the rest of the story.
No, so independently, now in all fairness, I haven't talked to anybody directly from the bus barn, but a relative of somebody that works at the bus barn, it comes to my office and we start talking politics and school board. And this the child of the person in my office who works at the bus barn consistently complains that they cannot maintain the buses because they're spending so much time on these the fleet vehicles. And why we have so many vehicles, Larry, I haven't a clue. And I've got no
Well,
like real good explanation for it.
well, we need to go out of the fleet vehicle business, and
Mhm.
I just do I think we may need a small motor a vehicle pool that's a shared vehicle pool to do certain things with? Yes, most definitely. Probably need a small vehicle pool, but we do not need a massive fleet. I mean, it's too much. Let's just take for example. Let's just say we've got a couple of $40,000-$50,000 vehicles. That's 100 grand. What's 100 grand by you, Justin?
By two paraprofessionals, one teacher.
Just saying. I would like to cut 10, 20 vehicles and add 5 teachers or add 10 parapros. That's
Mhm.
my personal assessment of it, right? And because most of the people are getting access to those vehicles are individuals at the central office who are making $140,000-$150,000 a year, who should be able to afford a vehicle. And if they have to travel from school to school, then we give them travel allowance. Whatever. That's what a lot of businesses do. It's what needs to be done. I don't think people are doing too much traveling anyway. And then that small motor pool that I talk about having, those vehicles would be the vehicles they would sign out of the motor pool and use to do that stuff that they do. So that's just my opinion. I think that's the kind of things that we look at as a board for cost savings that you guys are not involved in now. You have y'all ever had that discussion about budgeting?
No, we have had zero discussion about fleet vehicles. The discussion that we're having is cutting benefits from paraprofessionals and outsourcing paraprofessionals. That's the discussion we're having.
And do we have outdated programs that we're still paying for that we don't even use?
So, I mean, I hear every day that there are, we tack on a program, we tack on some sort of some computer program, some app that the teachers aren't using, and so we spend 100 grand on that, but there's little use, there's little efficacy that is proven with these programs. Look, I am as a board member, I am not going to second guess the programs that are recommended by teaching and learning by county office. But what we need is more teacher input as to what programs that we use. I mean, these programs are not cheap by any means, uh, but there needs to be more school level input as to what programs that we use and or that we purchase. And if teachers are not on board, then we need to cull some of these programs.
Well, this is what I would ask, right? Just because trust me, in my line of business, whether you believe it or not, we deal with programs and processes out the yin yang, right? Just the way it works. So is the process, how long is the policy, how long is the process or the program being implemented? Okay. What results do we have that show a success, or what data do we have that shows the progress that this program has been able to do while it's been in place? If we can't show data that shows that this program has been effective, then I have a hard time funding it. Okay. So we've got to track these processes, these programs, to make sure that they are effective. If we don't know they're effective, then we're wasting money. And then I think if we look at how the school system is performing, then I can't say we have a lot of successful programs. Just from an outsider looking in, Justin, right? So that, but I want to know what these programs are, know when they were implemented, and from tracking them, what success levels they have. That's what we need to ask. Questions that have we asked? What do you think, Tene?
Yeah, those can be asked and answered easily. Like I said, I sit on the local school council for Lorraine, and a couple of months ago, as we were getting the budget, the teachers, we have 2 teachers on the local school council. They were asking, will we get this? Will we get that? Like one program that they really liked almost tripled their price. And so our principal was hesitant about confirming that we'll get it, even though they really like that program. But the teachers are willing to say, the teachers are willing to be very specific about which programs they want, which programs they don't want. And so it's just a matter of us listening, which is not something that we've been doing. Well, the district has been doing very well. But yeah, so that's not a hard ask. That's not a difficult ask, because the information is out there.
Gotcha. And then one of the things I think I've heard too, I've talked to a lot of people in the community, and one of the things they discuss is they don't believe that their complaints, when they go to the school system, they don't believe their complaints are taken seriously, and they believe they're just pushed aside a lot of times and not listened to. So what I would like to do is discuss implementing a policy to where there's a paperwork trail, that if someone comes with a complaint, there has to be a complaint form filled out, and that form has to go through the process, and then eventually that paperwork comes to the board for the board to review at one of the executive meetings, because that would be an issue of student, right? So, but I think the board needs to confirm that the constituents' complaints are being addressed and taken seriously by the superintendent and the staff, because I've heard numerous complaints that they're not.
So I definitely think there should be a direct line of communication between the board and the people. Again, I know people, I have friends who are on different boards of education, and one specific board, she implemented the Community Advisory Council. She has a Student Advisory Council. So there should be a direct line of communication. I think the biggest thing for me, is that I want to make sure I am doing my job as a board member: policy, governance, and budget. I want us to have someone who we can trust to run the school system, so that we don't have to look over his or her shoulder in any way outside of policy, governance, and budget. I don't like it when I have to second guess what goes on at Lorraine. I very rarely have to do that. I did send just a clarification email to one of the administrators this weekend, because I just wanted to make sure that what the policy that they were implementing for the last week of school was not based upon something that I didn't agree with. And she responded immediately, which I agree. I want to feel secure when I send my child to Lorraine, that the people at Lorraine are looking out for the betterment of all the kids. So as a board member, I want to feel secure that whoever we have as superintendent who's running the school can do it in the way that we deem necessary, and that is educational excellence. Once that happens, we'll have attrition. We will have the appropriate attrition of those people who are not interested in educational excellence, because you will stick out as a sore thumb when you start to, as Justin said, not turn on your camera when it's time to do work. When you, as a teacher, decide not to come in when you should come in, you have a lot of substitutes. So for me, it's about us getting in there, and it's Justin remaining in there and establishing a culture of educational excellence, what you all have already seen, which I have not seen yet here, reestablishing, reclaiming it, such that those who know that they're not about that will weed themselves out. And if we need help, if we need to help them weed themselves out, that's fine too.
That's right.
But they will weed themselves out.
Yeah, and I agree. Policy needs to be well defined, and then it needs to be implemented, because it doesn't do any good to have policy that's not implemented.
Mhm.
So it's well defined policy that is implemented. Justin, your take.
So my issue is we do not take into account the fact that teachers are the experts. Teachers at the ground level, they know their students' needs. And when I came up through Rockdale County Public Schools, and I've told this story numerous times, but when I started in kindergarten, I had one principal. It was Rose Rent. She retired and went to Florida, and then we had Dr. Linda Akins Young from first grade through fifth grade. She stayed there after I went to middle school at Conyers Middle School. We had Vicki Denard all 3 years that I was at Conyers Middle School, and then we had Dr. Kathy Garber was my principal from ninth grade to 11th grade. She was the principal when my brother graduated from Rockdale County High School 5 years before I did. And uh, Dr. Garber was so well loved in Rockdale County High School that when she was moved over to county office, we knew that she didn't want it. She didn't want to go. The student body knew that she didn't want to go, and she was so well loved that when word got out, there was a student body walkout of Rockdale County High School where we protested her going over to county office. She told it, go back to school. All you're doing is hurting me. Get back to class. And but there was a protest because she instilled a culture of excellence at Rockdale County High School that you're not really going to see in Rockdale County at any school in Rockdale County anymore, because there's such a shift in administration. There's a lack of implementation of a culture of excellence because the administrative staff is just laterally moved for no reason. And when the administration leaves, so too goes an outflow of teachers that follow the administrative staff that they're accustomed to. That there's buy-in with the administrator, so they're going to follow that administrator, and you lose all the institutional memory. The student body stays stagnant, but the administrative staff and the teachers are constantly moving about the county. That is a huge concern of mine, and I cannot get a clear answer other than the assistant superintendents that are over these schools. They know what the needs of the school at this particular school, and so this administrator is going to be a better fit over here. We're going to move the staff, and the teachers leave. We cannot we cannot start a culture of excellence at a school if there is a constant outflow of staff from that school. The staff needs to remain more constant than the student body.
We need more stability.
Yes.
If you don't have stability in anything, then you have unrest, and you don't have consistent learning. So I agree with you, Justin. Tonight I've seen you shaking your head, and you're in agreement with stability also. So I think that's something that we're all in agreement of. It's but I think when the search for a new superintendent happens, it's that wish list you have to put together, right? That superintendent that wants to work with the community, that superintendent that wants to have a working relationship with the board, that superintendent that wants to have a stable environment in the school system. So I think from what we've had, we know what we don't want. Would that be a good assessment?
It would. We need a superintendent that is fixated on the legacy of 15,000, not the legacy of one.
Dude, I agree with that. I mean, come on, Tene. I'm the man that says, I've said on this show, I don't know how many times, we need to fire Terry Oates. I mean, it's It's just reality. I mean, sometimes somebody's not the right fit for a school system. And Justin and I think we've had this conversation. He might be the right fit somewhere, but he's not the right fit here. It's, it is what it is. I mean, it's like, hey, I don't mind having we have the vote. I don't mind having the conversation, going out in the room and telling him, pat him on the back. Been nice knowing you the 5 minutes I've been on the board, but
I mean, Larry, I've already said now. I've already voted against extending his contract. So I mean, I've already raised my hand in opposition. I'm not afraid to say it in public right now.
Oh, I know you're not. I know. Yeah, you've said it many a time.
we have our students are not, they're not succeeding. And you look at the milestone scores from last year, and all I've heard from preliminary milestone scores is they're not looking any better this year. So we got to right the ship, and we need a new captain.
I do want to answer a question from one of our audience. Can the school system require the superintendent to live in the county? And I can answer that. The answer is no. No government entity in the state of Georgia can put a residency requirement on the employment of anyone. But what you can do is this. You can create a hiring grading scale. And if someone's willing to live in the county, they get 10 points. Somebody's willing to do this or that, they get extra points. So you can create a grading scale that someone grades during their interview, and you can consider whether they want to become a county resident or not, but it cannot be a requirement. So that's how that would work. Justin, would you agree with that assessment of that?
Yes, sir.
Tene, do you have an opinion about that also?
This has been my answer, and I will be consistent in this answer. The school system is the bedrock of a community. I believe the person who runs the bedrock of the community should live in the community, but we would do it the legal way.
And I agree with that 100% too. My thing is I want that person to live here, and I will do everything within the hiring process to make sure they end up living in Rockdale County legally, without violating the law.
Yes. Yes.
So, guys, I've enjoyed this show. I think we went a little longer than we said we were going to, but it's been an informative show. We've had a good audience the whole time, and I think the people needed to hear this kind of open, just conversation about where we stand, what we do, and just have a clear understanding of who we are and what we are and what we believe. And I think they got a good taste of that tonight. So let me go ahead and start with Justin. Justin, tell everybody again, why they should vote for you on Tuesday.
So again, I'm Justin Kenney. I'm your Post 3 Board of Education member. I have not earned a single vote to occupy this position, but I hope in the year that I have been your Post 3 Board of Education member that I have earned your vote for May 21st. Look, I firmly believe that Rockdale County, we have the potential for excellence. We are not there yet, but with the right person at the helm in terms of the superintendent, we can get there. Our teachers need to be supported. Our teachers need to be well funded, and I am there. It is your Post 3 Board of Education member doing that. I have voted against a contract extension for the superintendent. I've voted against a raise. I have voted against a bloated budget. I voted against a millage rate to fund the bloated budget. I have voted against buying a vehicle for the superintendent unnecessarily while our teachers struggle. We have to get back to the fundamentals of education, and that is spending money at the school level and stop funding a bloated county office. So that is my main platform. That is why I want your vote on Tuesday.
Thank you, Justin. And Tene, if you would go ahead and give your spiel, and I'm going to turn my camera off a minute because I'm going to bring a special guest in here while you're doing that. So,
I think I know who that special
Right,
guest is
I
going to
do
be.
too.
I know. So my name is Tene Davis. One more time, I'm running for post 5. I would love for your consideration in electing me to the board. Again, I'm an educator, lifelong educator. This is my calling. This is my purpose. I am so happy to be a new resident of Rockdale. Again, been here since December of 2019. You all have welcomed my family and I, and we really enjoy, we want to build a life with you all here. And in order to do that, we have to have an educational system that is excellent. And right now, we don't have that. But we can get there. We can get there. There's no doubt in my mind that we can get there. We're 15,000 strong, and so we can get there. We can get there through community. Through I knew it. I'm gonna finish up so we can get to the dog. We can get there through community empowerment, community engagement, and that's what I wholeheartedly believe. We as a community, when we come together, we will reclaim what has been here and build upon it. So thank you all. Please consider voting for Tene Davis, post 5 Board of Education on Tuesday.
well, guys, if y'all guys have not met him before, this is the candidate. This is Tucker Cox. He is the write-in candidate for post 2. He has been doing very well in this election, right? So I was at West Avenue on Friday. Somebody came by, rolled their window down, threw their fist up, and yelled, "Team Tucker!" And I think a lot of candidates were there, and they heard that, and it was like, we can't believe that little dog is actually getting votes and people supporting him. And I said, yes, he is. And I said, and it's a protest vote, and we all know that, right? But I think actually Tucker would serve well on the board. So that's just my opinion. So I think he would be well behaved and just as long as he got sit next to me, everything would be good. So but I just wanted to let everybody meet Tucker because people a lot of people have asked about it, and they wanted me to bring him out to West Avenue, but I didn't want to bring him out there next to the traffic and all that. So not going to put my buddy in danger, but I will bring him on the show here and let you guys see him. So this is Tucker Cox, write-in candidate, post 2. He wants your write-in vote. Go ahead and do that. Show your support for Tucker Cox. So, guys, let me tell you about just a final note with me. I'm running for this because I want to make a difference in each and every one of your lives, a positive difference. I want to make a positive difference for these students. I want to make a positive difference for our seniors. And I want to make a positive difference for parents and teachers, even the administrators and our future superintendent, because we all have to work together for a common goal. And that's to bring education back to where it once was in Rockdale County. Rockdale County was one of the premier destinations for education in Georgia. People moved to this community to get their kids educated. One of those individuals is sitting right in this interview right now, Justin Kenney. And the fact that Justin Kenney graduated Rockdale County High School, went to Vanderbilt, went to Mercer Law School, and is a respected, established attorney in this community. He's a prime example of what Rockdale County can produce if we get back on track. And that's what I want to do. I want to get elected, be on this board so we can produce more people like Justin Kenney. That's my goal. Thank you, and thank you, and thank you. And Tucker Cox says, thank you for the support. And he's going to get more votes than any other dog in Rockdale County history. And that's, that says a lot. So thank you guys. Thanks for joining us tonight. And if you guys will just hold on as we click out, we'll have a couple minute little conversation, and we'll go good night and be ready for tomorrow. So thanks, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 8:15 p.m. I will have Janice Van Ness on the show tomorrow night, and she's going to one last plea to you guys to vote for her for chair of Rockdale County. So thank you and good night, and see you.